morning, Friday, September the 8th, 2017, 10 a.m. agenda meeting. I'd like to ask everybody to please silence your phones. I'm going to ask Mr. Quinn to say the pledge and Mr. Bridge to say the prayer.
Please stand. Face the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We now pray the Lord's Prayer. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Thank you, gentlemen.
bless.
Okay, we'll move to item number 3 with staff report. Ms. Boyer, glad to see you get across the bridge.
Good morning, gentlemen. I know y'all tried really. Y'all were so excited to hear my admin update that y'all broke the bridge. But look, this isn't the first time I swam over that river. Normally I swam for something more important, but today it was just to come visit with y'all. So, first of all, we'll go through. I only have 3 updates. It may take 15 minutes, but it's only 3 updates. We're going to address Harvey first, just in general. I know Danny's going to go into a lot of details, but we most certainly, after having 2 named storm events in 2 months, we have to be grateful and thankful that we have not been more impacted than we have been. When we see what's going on in the islands and in Texas and what could potentially happen in Florida, we just have to be cognizant of the fact that it once was us, and we certainly know what they're going through. There was some significant impacts here. 30 inches of rain, 2 confirmed tornadoes, another wind event. But from the staff's perspective, we learned from Cindy, and we'll learn from this one. The Friday after Cindy, we had a department head meeting, and we worked through 2 pages of items that we didn't do very well. And it helped us in this event. So things like the MOU with Calcasieu Parish that we didn't need to implement with Cindy were implemented with Harvey as it relates to staff operations, office operations, transfer of phone lines, alerts, and even relocation of equipment, of parish assets. And so we're thankful to the Calcasieu Police Jury and for all the efforts of staff that facilitated the move, so to speak. So again, we're going to debrief as a group, as a team, and we'll certainly have some concrete updates for you in the future, asking for your guidance on what you saw and what we could do better next time. And certainly there are always those instances. Going back to a different event, last August, we had a significant flood event throughout the majority of Louisiana. And as part of the recovery from that flood event, the state is making available a portion of funds that are going to be CDBG funds that constitutes a program called the Non-Federal Cost Share Local Match Program. The accounting staff has been monitoring these funds on our behalf, and at the end of the day, what it means for Cameron, in a storm event, we all are familiar with the local match requirement. Not always do we have a RETA where it was 100% federally funded. The August flood event was 90-10, so 10% was the local match requirement. This pot of money will allow the parish to submit to the state to have our 10% covered. Right now, the estimates are around $50,000 is what it would be, and it's gonna take some effort to put it together. But a one-day workshop was held in Baton Rouge, and Ms. Armental attended and has compiled the relevant information, and so we're going to ask staff to continue working through that process and seeing if it's, how cumbersome it would be and what we need to do to put ourselves in line should we qualify for those funds. Finally, on the Restore Act local match program, I just wanted to report that we have submitted our formal application to the CPRA. That was submitted on August 25th. So we have a couple of months that we're waiting on the evaluation process to go through. When you evaluate the scoring criteria, it looks pretty good for us, in my opinion, that we would receive something. And so, yet again, we're trying to move on some of those coastal restoration dollars that are out there. And in fact, in a related matter, and this is my final note, the CPRA announced 4 construction projects, contracts being awarded on September 5th. 4 projects statewide, 2 of those are in Cameron Parish. The 4 projects total $28.6 million of federal and state money. 27.1 million, or 94.7% of those dollars, are going to be spent on projects in Cameron Parish. So that is a great sign for us that not only are we getting our story out there, but we are receiving the funds that are due to us, and that's great. It's taken us some time, and we're getting positioned, but those projects are there, and they're going to begin going to construction shortly. With that, I'll entertain any questions.
What 2 projects? What projects are?
It's the Rockefeller Shoreline project that we knew was, the money was allocated, but the bids went out, it came in under budget. And also the Cameron Creole Marsh Creation Project. It's a beneficial use project in the watershed, 600 acres of marsh being constructed. And again, it's 100% state and federal money.
Good. Any other questions? Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
We'll move into Road and Bridge, Ms. Emma.
Good morning. I just wanted to kind of give y'all an update. If y'all seen the parish roads and stuff, we still have the stakes out and some of the high water signs. Next week, we are in the process of pulling the stakes up and getting the high water signs removed, getting back to some kind of normal. We're going to start cutting the grass and stuff again in the areas that we can. So if y'all get any kind of phone calls or anything, let them know that we are coming, or you can refer them to our office. And if y'all have any questions on anything.
I'd like for you to talk about FEMA and Sept coming down and tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Last Tuesday, we met with the state, and we actually went and rode a couple of the roads. She wanted to do a inventory type thing. She went and she got some different measurements on, we rode in the Little Chenier area, Long Beach, some in East Creole, some in Grand Lake. We did take a couple rides in Johnson Bayou. Unfortunately, the water was too high for her to see what she needed to see. She did let me know that once she got some of the figures and everything plugged back in, that they would make another appointment possibly to come back out with a different crew. And Danny can update you more on that.
Well, the reason for it is only state officials and FEMA didn't come down. The governor's office trying to get FEMA to accept the state's PDA. And that's because the governor really wants to expedite this process. And that's where they was at this morning, trying to get FEMA to accept it to keep it from sending another team down here.
Okay. My concern is we talk about coastal restoration, but we're getting any closer to a total, something that's gonna actually protect all our beaches down here?
As it relates to Harvey, right now, there's not gonna be any mitigation dollars or things like that, that will be allocated. At least we don't anticipate that at this point. We still have worked through, that planning assistance to the state's, grant, and the Corps of Engineers is gonna get, engaged with their contractors on identifying what the problem is, and provide us alternatives on how to alleviate or mitigate some of those issues. But as it relates to FEMA and GOSEP and Harvey or Cindy even, those dollars won't be allocated due to those storm events. But it certainly has exacerbated the issue and has caused more complications in those areas. But unfortunately, those dollars won't be allocated as a direct result of those storms, as of right now.
But futuristic, hopefully, we can get something going on the entire beach of Cameron Parish. Because, I'm gonna say this, and I said it before, it's just a matter of time, once we lose our engineers, it's just a matter of time before it gets Lake Charles. And once it gets into that marsh, there's nothing gonna stop it. So I'm hoping these organizations realize what's fixing to happen if they don't do something. And I know that you and your staff have been working on this pretty hard for the last few years. I don't think anybody's listening.
I don't know if I'd go that far just yet. I think they are, but I think that we're being relied upon to provide more information than maybe we did in the past. And so, due to the fact that we don't have the money, and the state don't have the money, and the federal government doesn't have the money, in the past, we could justify a project through a narrative, take a site visit, we're gonna go out there, show it to them, oh man, this is bad, we're gonna allocate these funds, and we're gonna take care of your problem. Now it's, okay, you need to take a step back, well, what caused it? What could you potentially do out there? Are the benefits and the costs equaling out to where we can even allocate federal money to it or state money to it? And so I think that due to the financial constraints of everybody involved, we are being forced to take that extra 1 or 2 steps to get to the point where they can say, you know what, you're right, y'all need the money. Now we have to not only tell them that we need it, show them that we need it, but then we have to justify why it's important to the state and federal government that they participate. And so that extra step is going to take a little bit more time and some of your money, quite frankly. But it will put us in the position that we need to be. It's just a different world now. It's no longer pick up the phone and call and get the project that you need. You're going to go through that process, and so we're adjusting to the process, kind of in the middle of the game. But hopefully, no time is wasted from our end. You know, hopefully that won't be the case.
Well, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but
Oh, no.
it needs to be said, and like I said, I know the Corps of Engineers is getting involved now, so hopefully we see some action.
Yes, sir. No.
Emily,
Yes, sir.
Mindy, Harvey, how many roads throughout the parish went underwater,
There is actually over 130.
percentage wise,
Oh,
roughly? 130 went under, how many roads we have?
132.
So we was
That's better
Yeah.
than 20%.
at least 20, if not a little bit more.
underwater,
Mhm.
passable.
Yes, we still actually have some in Johnson Bayou. And that's what happened, like whenever we stopped with the number at the 130, that's why I'm gonna say 130 plus, the water was still coming Saturday and Sunday. That was not on that list at the time.
And how many do we have today still under?
Still, pretty much everything in Johnson Bayou. Yeah, but there's still, we still have a couple in, the Sweet Lake area also, that's having water also on them. East Creo still, and, some of the parish roads still have water. Little Chenier, Chenier Pardue, Mermitall, Mineral, not
But we
Mermitall
are
River.
finally draining now.
Yes, it is draining very, yeah, it's slowly, yes, sir.
Anything else, Ms. Emily?
Thank you.
Emily, during the past, even with all this mess going on, a week before this, Mary Carroll sent myself and the chairman an email from some concerned citizens in Big Lake at the old settlement. I had somebody forward that email to you. If you don't mind, I've addressed this 10 or 15 times. I want you to check on what we can do, what are we able to do on these roads. I've got to get with the sheriff, and I'm going to ask him to try to beef up some patrol in there. Slow these people down. We've got the speed limit down at 15 miles an hour. There's nothing more I can do. They're asking, they sent a petition out, and the petition states that they're asking for speed bumps, they're asking for something to try to slow the people down, because it does go to a dead end. If you don't mind, take your time, look at every prospect that we can do, see what we can do, see what we're able to do. And then, if you don't mind, get a report back to me or send an email out to me, and because I've got a meeting that is called with that little community right there with the petition. And I told them, I said, I'll try to find something out as quick as I can, so I can bring to their attention what can be done, what can't be done, so I'm not misleading nobody in the event. So whatever you gotta find for me, please, I'm gonna ask you that, because you're on the road and bridge, it goes under that class. And if you can do that, I'd really appreciate it. And just shoot me some kind of email, or get it in a package, whatever, get it mailed to them, I'll get it picked up. And I think I've got a meeting coming up here somewhere at the end of the month or something like that with all the people that live in that community.
Okay, yes, sir, I'll get that for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Emily.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Okay, we're gonna move to OEP. Before we start, Danny, I'd like to thank you for job well done over the last couple weeks. I thought you you and your staff did an excellent job. We appreciate what you did. So,
Thank you very much. There's a lot of team effort. Yes, sir.
I know you were staying awake a long time, but thank you.
Before we get started, with reference to the EOC during the event of Harvey, I recommended for you, Mr. Curtis and Mr. Joe DuPont, that we should have a debriefing and an after-action meeting pertaining to this event. I wanted, but since me and Ryan work directly underneath the jurors, it should be conducted with all of us as 10. Then in turn, what we get from this meeting, we will have a department head meeting, and then we'll make the determination if we need to have with staff. But this meeting is all about questions, comments, and suggestions about to be better for the next event that occurs in our parish. So with that being said, we can talk about that event for hours, and I'm done talking.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll kind of give you a current status. We did request a PDA for the public assistance and the individual assistance, which we touched base earlier. Only the state official came down for the public assistance. Monday is scheduled for the PDA team to come down for individual assistance. Currently, we got a new list from Johnson Bay from Miss Cindy McGee. I didn't count them, but it looked like roughly 75 people that might have been impacted by either wind or water. We have 10 across the parish on the east side. So hopefully, we're trying to push for the declaration of with individual assistance, because we get a lot of call. And hopefully, on a side note, that for the public assistance, and hopefully even with the individual, if it's that much, they just want to push it through. We had people try to register online. There's a glitch in the software. So we're suggesting that they call the 1-800 number and they can pre-register. So once, if it looks like we should get the declaration. If we do, then they can process it a lot quicker. There's a big, they're short on resources right now, and the governor's really concerned about expediting all this stuff. Currently, we still have flooded waters in Johnson Bayou, and we have approximately over 1,500 cattle that are stranded by flooded acreage. We've got hay donated by Farm Bureau. Certain cattle owners are providing transportation to pick up this free hay from North Louisiana. But we need a different resource, and I put in a request for a helicopter to do an airdrop for this. Should get the answer on this assessment and request of resource sometime today, because Calci also needs airdrop account on that area, so they want to group up their missions and see if we can unlock it at one time. So that's what's currently going on now. Also, this touch base, I want to thank the school board. I got a call from Calci needing assistance for bus drivers and buses. The school board had came up with 4 drivers and 4 buses. They hauled evacuees from Texas to the Burton Coliseum. And everybody was on prices, and the superintendent said that he was not charging our neighbors anything this time of need, that he could absorb the cost of it and the cost. So I really want to thank the school board for their action in this event. Let's see. The only thing is September 10th is the peak of the hurricane season, and after that, on the downside, currently there's 3 hurricanes out there, 1 in the Gulf and 2 in the Atlantic. There's another one brewing behind. You got Katia, Irma, and Jose, and there's one right behind Jose. So there's a lot of uncertainty. It's still very active out there, so it's going to be a busy season. And our thoughts and prayers are for Florida because they will be greatly impacted by Irma. That's all. I think that's all I got, guys. Any questions? Say no, please. No. No.
Anybody got any questions, Ken?
Thank you.
Well, again, I do want to thank you and your staff. Awesome
I'll
job.
thank myself.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate what y'all did. Thank you very much. Economic development.
Yes, sir. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
We found out yesterday that we will have an oyster season this year. It will be in West Cove only, again with a 7 sack limit, but no total sack limit as of yet. That likely will be to come. We'll hear that from the commission. The season does open November 1st and should run to April, depending on what the total sack limit ends up being. And just as a reminder, that is tonguing only. On August 24th, we hosted another hiring event with the Skilled Crafts recruiter from CB&I and Louisiana Works. We saw 26 Cameron Parish residents. An update on Cameron Fisheries. We are still receiving information from the Cameron Fisheries LLC folks on the particular specifications on equipment that was on that approved equipment list. As of this morning, I was informed that the folks with Randy Goodlow that will actually put it out for bid can't give us a date yet for that package to go out for bid. We're waiting on the remaining items to be clarified by the Cameron Fisheries folks, so we hope that by next month we'll have a better update for you. Coming up, I think I mentioned this.
I got an email yesterday on that, and I said, how many do you have left? Because there were about 30 maybe items they had to do. They have 9 left. And they set out here, I'm just going to give you this email about 2 of them are going to be combined, another 2 combined. So they've got the plan going forward on all the remaining items, and they say we're concerned no requests for bids have gone out. So you can tell them they're going to do them all at one time.
Okay.
So
Did they meet their deadline, Jim?
they had a new deadline. They met their initial deadline about, I need the specs on these, and they gave us about half of them. And so I said, they kept trickling in, and I said, okay, I'm giving you 3 weeks to finish this. So they haven't elapsed that deadline. So, but they only they only copied me on that.
Okay, thank you.
So when is the final deadline for them to be?
They don't have anything that they're obligated to do right now except get this equipment list ready for bids. That's all. There is no date when they have to move in, because once this is ready for bids, it has to go out for bids. They have to get the equipment in place before they can run. So once the bids go out, I'm gonna give them another deadline of you have to be operating by this day.
Right, so the documents that govern the agreement, all of the agreements between the police jury and Cameron Fisheries, between the port and Cameron Fisheries and the landowner, says that Cameron Fisheries has 90 days from the date that the equipment is delivered to become operational. That's the only hard and fast date that I'm aware of.
So we're kind of waiting, well, they still have these 9 items left to do. Then the ball is in the architect's court to get the bids ready. We'll send out the bids, and then I'm hoping that we have responses to all of the bids, because that's gonna be another delay, you know. But they aren't really unusual type things, and they, with each item, they list, they provide a list to the architect of vendors who sell these things. So we're sending the bids out to people that we know have this stuff available.
And at this time, are they paying the insurance, or is the parish paying the insurance? We'll find that out.
I don't know who's getting an invoice for the insurance payments.
We've been paying it with the intent to bill them.
Have we billed?
We billed them, but they haven't paid. Well, we billed them on our end and told them that we were billing them, but we haven't had that meeting where they need to pay everything. The only thing we did was transfer all the utilities into their name.
Did they take possession of the
Yes.
property in January?
Yes, the last meeting we had with them, they were interested in shopping out the insurance themselves to see if they could get a better rate and compare it to what we're able to provide for them. But as of right now, we've been paying it every year.
And that was 8 months ago.
Yes.
Okay.
But
We need to send bills, and if they're not gonna pay it, we need to.
That would appear to be another
I'll
legal matter.
make a demand on it.
Okay.
Give me a copy of the bill.
Yeah, they need to pay their own bills.
And the landowner continues to pay the tax bill as well, the Henrys.
Why?
Well, there's no record of Cameron Fisheries paying taxes on that property.
So there's also a tax bill?
And I can request from Mr. Henry the tax payment.
Did we pay
Receipts.
it, or is this bill just unpaid?
Well, the landowner is Mr. the Henry family, so they're the ones paying those taxes.
Okay, so, and Jennifer, these people have taken over this property. They should have taken over the insurance, and they should have taken over the taxes, correct?
They're only obligated to pay taxes on the improvements. The land is still owned by the Henry family, because they don't own the land.
Right.
So the landowner will still pay. I don't know if the improvements are on the tax rates. I'll ask and find out. Yeah.
Is the landowner receiving payments on these?
Yes, sir, without delay.
Okay, so they're receiving that part.
Yes, sir.
Right, they're receiving their part.
Okay. We need
We're-
to find out if there's taxes on their improvements, like Ms. Jennifer said.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to find out, we need to get insurance taken care of and get repayments for their.
That is the one thing I can verify right now, that the port services a pass-through for those funds. So we invoice Cameron Fisheries for the lease payment, and without fail, they've paid that before it was due, so that we can pass along the payment dollar for dollar directly to the Henrys.
Okay, they still owe money and they need to pay.
We'll have more information next time we meet. Upcoming, September 27th at the Seed Center in Lake Charles, LIDEA, which is the Louisiana Industrial Development Executives Association, is hosting what they call Role of Elected Officials in Economic Development. I mentioned this to you last month. I would strongly encourage you to attend that particular meeting. There are meetings being hosted around the state. The one closest to us is on September 27th in Lake Charles. It gives elected officials an idea of a positive role that you can play as an elected official in economic developments. on October 5th, Entergy is hosting a statewide rollout of their new economic development website. So Timmy will be here to report to you on the port's behalf because I'll be attending that Entergy event. And September 26th is the next port board meeting. I certainly encourage anyone who'd like to attend to be there. Unless you have any questions, that's it.
Claire, have we, I know the drilling is not very much right now, but have we been in contact with any of the oil companies trying to see if they have any interest in coming back to Cameron?
For me, it's,
Houston, not trying to line up meetings?
I got some word this week from, yes, the answer is yes. I got word from Newt Henry this week about renewal of leases for Baker Hughes, Halliburton, folks like that. There are landowners, him in particular, who've offered a reduction in lease rates to the tune of 15% until we see the price per barrel come back up. It's a similar situation that our colleagues in Bouchon are doing with their tenants. So that's been a way to keep leaseholders in place rather than having them leave property completely, which is a good thing because revenue still keeps coming in from those leases. But otherwise, I haven't heard very much good news at all from our traditional oil and gas partners.
Have we been trying to get in contact with any new ones to see if they had some of the old ones that used to be here, trying to see if they had any interest in coming back, what it would take, if we can negotiate with them?
So there's been some conversation since you guys hired me back in 2014 with various oil and gas companies. Mr. DuPont asked me specifically to do that. And the issue seems to be for the majority of the oil and gas companies that I have visited with in Houston, that they're looking for the development of Port Cameron LLC to happen so that they can locate services within that facility. So there's not been much interest at all in, in their reaction to me saying, look, we have this other industrial complex, we have some land available. I often promote as well the land that's available on the Murmurtaugh River for barge access. There's not much interest, especially not right now. So
We also
certainly
did a mail out too.
We did. We did. So
Passing up.
absolutely, thanks for reminding me about that, Timmy. We did, so each year when the offshore technical conference happens in Houston, they publish a catalog of all of the oil and gas companies that attend that particular event. And Timmy and I went through with a fine-tooth comb and identified the companies in that catalog, and they're worldwide, they're in that catalog. And we sent them our new marketing brochure and a note saying, we have property available, there's tremendous interest in Cameron Parish, and I think I got 3 responses from probably Timmy, 200? Almost 200 companies we sent word to that are not just based in Houston, but around the world.
That's in the mail out though. Have we talked face to face with any of them, trying to get a meeting face to face with them and get a discussion going with them?
That was what I was offering in the mail out. Some of them don't have numbers associated with that. And so I've done online research to see if there's a contact person that works in development that is looking for additional sites. One of the issues that comes up over and over again for us is that we have no rail in the parish. And so mostly all refineries are looking for a location that has rail. They're looking for a pretty short list. I get requests for proposals from the state of Louisiana Department of Economic Development all the time, and they have a list of requirements that they're not going to look at property to locate on unless it's within a certain radius of an interstate highway. It has rail access, basically shovel-ready sites. So that in particular, rail is what ends up taking us off of the list when a company is looking to locate a new operation.
But that is refineries, this is not drilling oil.
Yeah, you're talking about oil and gas services? Yeah. Well, right now, the response that I'm getting is they're waiting to see what happens with Port Cameron LLC.
could offer them some kind of temporary service until that happens.
Mhm. And I
we
work
talked about
closely.
Fort Cameron, where is this stand, still waiting on permitting?
They have not received their 404 wetlands mitigation permit from the Army Corps yet.
Okay.
And you mentioned about that all price of that all. I wonder what that price has got to be before they go back to work.
Well, there are different opinions on that around the world. The folks in Fushan reduced their lease rates by 15 to 20% until price per barrel reached $70. So we still got a ways to go before that happens.
She said people may have to get to 75.
Right.
If it was feasible.
The lowest I've heard is 70 a barrel before we see normalcy in the oil and gas market.
By this year.
The profit margin also went up. You got to think that their profit margins.
And as long as you got the Eagle Ford and the Permian,
You're not going to see drilling in the
you're not
Gulf.
gonna see much of anything. If they've got,
$48 a barrel.
we got down to $26 a barrel, we were still making a profit over there.
Yeah, you got to think about that.
And they were all buying it. Permian's even cheaper to produce, West Texas.
Ryan, you got that railroad track thing on your list?
Go fix the Gratiot Bridge first.
This fixed, get the track, we can get plenty of area to put track in.
And it's not just refineries, it's, yeah, that's sort of a limited scope if we think that only refineries need rail access. Other companies would like to see it happen too.
My thing is salvaging. There's got to be, if they're pulling up a lot of these old platforms, they have to either got to get rid of or fix it. And I know they're doing a lot of that. So look like we have a spot here in Cameron, maybe they can store, bring the platform in and jump it out.
And that's one thing I have been doing as well, visiting with folks like the Nigerians to bring in increased numbers of platforms so that that's work for locals, that's lease for dock space, that's local employees, people, sandblasters, welders, cutters. So doing that as well.
Thank you, Claire. Good job. All right, Ms. Mary?
I just have something real quick, just to let y'all know that the adjudicated property auctions are underway, and we had 2 sell in August and 3 in, well, 2 sold in the July auction, 3 sold in the August auction. So it seems like a slow process, but after 50 years, we're finally getting some back on the tax roll. We can always learn to it.
Did you talk to Ryan about what we discussed on that one?
Yeah, no, I haven't talked to him yet, but I went ahead and sent the email and told her it could not be done.
Okay, good, good. All right, Mary, thank you. All right, ready?
I got 2 things this evening's going to be on the voting meeting. The first one's going to be a variance request for Belinda Miltonberger here in Cameron. It's a variance to place 3 Connex containers on the ground on the loop here in Cameron to fry shrimp and for buying and selling of seafood. This variance, these types of variances, it's functionally dependent use considered by FEMA. They're allowed, okay, so they approve them. It's for loading and offloading of offshore vessels, such as fishing or any industrial boats. That'll be on the this evening's meeting.
So there's no issue with that? Other than it needs to be, if she puts them down here and storm comes in, they have to be accessible to move out, right?
That's her plans. I mean, I think we can condition it into variance, but her plans and what she told me, I talked to her, is to have, it's connected, so you can go with a roll-off trailer and pick them up with the cable and suck them on and haul them off. Say she's got too much invested. They're already here. She's done got them insulated. The coolers are on there already. All she needs is electricity, and she can go to work.
Yeah, Miles, While you right here on these permits, Mr. Boudreaux up there off the Grand Lake, Boudreaux Lane, it's all staying right there, he's just fixing all this stuff up right.
Yeah, I think Terry's talked to him, but his plans are to leave it all on site.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. As long as it's staying on site, I think this is on board with me and you, Joe, right here off the Tan Road. Mr. Brian, I think he's fixing some stuff and it's going both directions back there.
Yeah, I looked at it a while ago too, and that's right across from Mike doing T. Mike's.
Right there, it's all right there.
Yeah, it's right there across. He's gonna have some weather issues, but we
He's got
looked at.
okay, all right.
But he wants to use, that's all staying on site too, he wants to use that material to build a house pad and a barn pad. But he wants to build a place to fish and everything too, he wants to build some bass ponds back there.
Okay, so that's, he's still working on his permit, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct, he's gonna have a pretty good ways to go. Carries in it figure mitigation. We condition those permits when on the Parish Road that they can't be hauling out unless there's a road surety bond.
Okay, that's fine, that's great, thank you, appreciate it.
So you're good on the variance. The other thing we got is a liquor permit, that was sent in for the Mainstay Hotel in Hackberry. It has been signed by the sheriff.
Thank you, Miles.
And they're moving along pretty good on the motel. They're trying to get it open as quick as they can.
Yeah.
Motel, one of them.
Yeah, I want to talk.
I don't know, Jerry.
That was the question.
Not a motel.
That's the question I had for you, Claire. I know that they were supposed to have a
Ribbon cutting?
ribbon cutting, on the hotel in Hackberry.
No date yet.
Not even close, that's what I don't understand.
Well, I think that, and Miles can help me with this, some weather delays, but I think they're close to letting us know what the date is on the ribbon cutting. We'll certainly share the information once we get it.
I went yesterday and did some inspections over there. The second and third floor is pretty complete almost. I mean, there's some minor stuff. My understanding today was getting fire marshal to move in, go in and see. I think they're gonna come up with some issues there they need to address. They still got a lot on the bottom floor they're working on. Electrical issues, they don't have panels labeled, they still don't have exit signs and stuff like that, emergency lighting put in, so. We told him yesterday he ain't gonna bell open today, we ain't giving no CFO today. So. Anything?
Anybody? Thanks, Mom. All right, we're gonna move on to item number 4, constitutional amendment, CWIP, Louisiana Energy Exporters Association.
Mr. Fountain, the Exporters Association requested that this be tabled with all the issues going on down here. They didn't want to take up time on your agenda to discuss it. They may contact us to schedule to come back in October.
Okay, thank you. Number 5, Logan Pruitt, Louisiana Companies.
Good morning.
We'll decide whether it's good or not.
It is good, because I'm not here to talk about health insurance. Thank God for me. I'm here to talk about 2 programs that we currently have that are very stable insurance programs. It's our primary casualty insurance for the parish and our volunteer fire department insurance. There's 2 separate programs. Let me start briefly. I think Darrell has given you 2 sheets. It's 2 premium summaries. We have the complete proposals available if y'all want to review the details, but basically, I'm going to start by talking about the casualty insurance, our liability insurance, and our workers' compensation insurance. The proposal that I've given is with the same markets that we have had for a number of years. Travelers Insurance Company, for all of the coverage, our GL, employee benefits liability, management liability, EPL, and auto insurance, and then Midwest Employers Casualty for our workers' compensation insurance. Basically, all deductibles, all limits, all coverage is identical to expiring. The premium is up $3,800, which represents just over 1%, which is very good. That's below the industry standards right now as far as premium increases. My recommendation is going to be leave everything as is. I also would like to mention Louisiana Companies is not married, we are not married to these insurance companies. We know what's going on in the marketplace. There are a couple of other markets, especially for insuring public entities, that we have talked to through the years, but neither one of them at this point in time have stepped up and said, we want the business and we're gonna dramatically reduce the premium. It just doesn't happen. We've been with Travelers I've been working with the parish for just under 20 years. We were with Travelers for 18 of those 20 years. About 3 or 4 years ago, their premiums went sky high. What do? That's my job. That's what you pay me for, is to come up here with a better proposal. I did. Travelers came back and got the business, and they don't want to let go. Anyhow, unless there are any questions on this particular program, I'm going to speak briefly on the volunteer fire districts. They have very unique insurance needs, and we currently have insurance with VFIS. In my opinion, the only program. If you have a volunteer fire district, you should have, this is the only program. There are others out there, but they're not VFIS. What we do currently and will continue to do is we split the premiums up to each fire district based on the vehicles that they own, based on the property, the buildings that they own. This is one thing that I want y'all to address. I'm going to make a recommendation, but I would want y'all to put your blessing on it. But basically, VFIS, the expiring premium for all lines of coverage, this is covering about $13.6 million of real property, buildings and contents, 47 vehicles, fire trucks, rescue trucks, etc., general liability, management liability, all the above. The expiring premium, and it is not shown on this sheet, but it is $222,000, okay? The renewal quote is $239,000. It's a 7%, just over 7% increase. I feel like that is too much of a bump. So I went back to them, and we have a very rich program for our all other perils. I'm not talking about a named storm. A named storm has a percentage deductible, but all other perils, fire, theft, vandalism, afternoon thunderstorm, not a named storm, afternoon thunderstorm, we have a $250 deductible. It's almost, we got to change that. It's time to change that. And I when they gave me the discounts to bump that deductible up to $1,000 and to $2,500 and $5,000, which I'm going to recommend, the savings was significant. I had to call back again and say, is this right? Basically, going from a $250 deductible to a $5,000, which is not unreasonable for the property schedule that we have, it's a $43,000 reduction in premium. Our recommendation is we got to tweak this program, change that deductible, and basically we will come under what the expiring premium.
What kind of claims we have so far?
I went and looked over 5 years, total claims $55,000, pretty good. Let me tell you, and y'all will completely understand the significance of this. VFIS, unlike any other property insurance program that I know of, includes flood insurance, full limits, not capped out, not in it, it's included, and that includes storm surge. And I don't like to talk about Rita, but when Rita came through here, these guys had issued checks before a lot of these other adjusters had even showed up on the site. I mean, that's how quick they are. They're good. They take care of the business. But basically, we need to keep them, but we need to tweak that deductible, get that premium down, and that's a very good question. And in the 5 years, there was one property claim, I think a pipe burst, a little water damage, and it resulted in about $12,000 to $15,000 damage. So now, I also asked about going up, the next step up is $10,000, there was very little savings there. The incremental savings, to me, the ideal spot to be is at $5,000, which is where we are, matter of fact, on the parish's master property policy for all, and that's not unreasonable, either. 5,000 for each occurrence. Anyhow, I don't know if there are any questions, any thoughts, concerns?
Sounds good.
Yeah, VFI is a good insurance. If you go up on the deductible, it makes total sense. We're gonna save $43,000 there, so, and that's gonna save the fire department, because they pay the premium.
It's all split up, it's all split up.
We're good. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Logan.
Okay, we're gonna move to item number 6, beachfront district number 1, beach vehicle permits. I'm going to talk about that. I had talked with the beach board, District 1, and explained to them that what they're asking for is going to be a ordinance. And I explained to them that they needed to write what they wanted in the ordinance, and then they would give it to Ms. Miniker. And then she would legalize what's legal, what's not legal, and make the.
So who am I to expect that from?
Mark. Yes, ma'am. So, they're working on ordinance, on the information to get to you. And as soon as he gets all that, he'll send it to you. Okay?
Yes.
Before we move on to review the agenda, I got a crawl in my throat, and I gotta go back to it. Insurance on Cameron Fisheries and everything. But we need to get that taken care of.
Yes, sir.
That's just kind of stuck in my problem. We need to get that taken care of. Everything they need to pay, they need to pay. No matter what it is. No matter where it is. Maybe they,
I'll help Katie Oliver, whatever she needs from me, and I'll, like I said earlier, I'll find out, on the improvements being on the tax rolls, what has been done there, and I'll get confirmation with the tax receipts, the payments made by the landowner.
and I think y'all have done a good job. I think you've been over backwards to help these people, and I think it's their turn to band.
In the instance they don't want to pay their insurance, is there any repercussions?
What now?
If they don't want to pay
If
their
they don't pay the
insurance,
insurance premiums, will
We
there
can
any
evict
repercussions?
them. We can evict them.
Even if, I mean,
That's
they
part
took
of their
possession.
obligation in the lease. So if they don't comply with any of the obligations under the lease, they can be evicted, not just rent, you know,
Okay.
even if they're paying. Now, we're not gonna get their rent anymore if we evict them, but I think they'll wanna avoid that. I had a question for Mr. Doxey. Does the other beach development district have any ordinances they want me to do?
No, meeting was canceled because of the storm, and I want to have it on a Friday, so everybody can come.
Okay.
We usually have it on Tuesdays, but we're gonna have, we'll talk to them and see what we have, first Friday we have it.
Okay.
That's Creole Fire Station.
All right, got anything? Review the agenda.
Mr. Curtis, before anybody brings it up, I just as soon address the change order. I'll save y'all the time of asking me.
I'm trying to avoid that.
No, because we just soon throw that, jump on that hand grenade, that landmine before we get there. It's on the courthouse renovations project. There were some items that we knew were not gonna be able to address prior to tearing down walls, and so the 2 days and $32,000 increase, it is legitimate. The staff walked through the building with the foreman, and the architect approved it as well, so just.
Five-year-old bill, they did done the best they doing.
I'll preemptive striking on your question, so.
Go ahead, Brad.
I know. Mr. Fountain, if y'all want to start, scheduling the executive sessions for pending litigation at the morning meeting, we can do that, because you're not gonna have to vote on it. So we can do those at the morning
Okay, thank you,
or the afternoon.
thank you. Good deals. Stuff you good? Dick, you good, and Gary, you good? All right. Meeting adjourned.
Yeah, no, I'll probably have to wait. I'm sitting over here, Ryan.
Ryan gonna get you in trouble.
I'm gonna sit for the day.
It's your phone, Miss Katie.
Can you hear me, Mary?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for speaking into the mic.
Okay, what about now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Mr. Doxy, I'm sincerely sorry about misspelling your name. I promise it won't happen again.
At least it's not Dorothy.
So basically, we're gonna try to keep this short and sweet unless you guys have a lot of changes to make to it. This is the second draft. It looks almost identical to the first draft I provided you. The only difference is this is inclusive of steps, which are something that's in our policy. It's not something that the jury really votes on. Supervisors do their evaluations. If the employee is eligible for a step, it's granted. Those steps are already in these figures. The insurance increases are in here, both health and property. The only other thing that's not gonna be in here are if there are any capital project purchase requests, which I requested all the department heads to be here today, and if they had anything in excess of $5,000. I heard from majority of them, they all like the budget the way it is. The ones that wanted to request additional money are here. I'm gonna let them make the request in a minute. I just wanted to clear up any questions you had with the budget before we move forward with that. And just to kind of clarify about how this is gonna roll. I know we're a month early than we typically are. We did that because the board review is scheduled for next month in our normal budget time slot. So we went ahead and moved everything, the schedule up a month. If you guys are good with all the changes that are made today, you give me your suggestions for everything, we'll incorporate them, and we might not have to meet again. We'll have our public notice, our public hearing, and then we'll adopt it in December. It's not too late to make changes in November if you decide that a change needs to be made. We can still schedule that in November, but if it's not needed, then we don't have to have it, and we'll take a month off. We'll probably have just a regular finance meeting in November if y'all need to discuss any of the end of the year numbers. So with that being said, are there any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I want to request that we allocate $300,000 to the boat launch in Grand Lake in our capital project.
Capital project, okay.
If nobody has any objections.
Say if the sale price down.
That would be easier to
So 300,000 out of the capital project fund for 2018 to build the boat launch.
That's, yeah, they'll vote on it. Please,
Okay.
Katie, you mentioned something in the beginning about, was you talking about raises?
It's not merit-based raises, and it's not cost of living or anything. They're just the steps. About 4 years ago now, the jury, once Ryan became administrator, you adopted an employee evaluation system. We have a policy. We're all based on step increases. They fluctuate each person that's in that salary step increase between $600 and $750 a year. Those are automatic based off of positive employee evaluations. but they're not anything in excess for merit, not counting reclassifications, there's no cost of living raises or anything, it's just the step. Everyone is in the steps, with the exception of anyone that's paid hourly, which would be the road crew workers, not the foremen. Which the foremans are salary based, but they're not in the steps either, I don't think, Emily, I didn't set it up that way. So it's really just all of the admin type personnel, not department heads, just staff between the DA's office, permit, and the police jury.
Is the,
Chairman,
Yes, go ahead.
is the road and bridge department going to be evaluated and those increases into the budget as part of the steps? Or,
Well, right now, the only employee of road and bridge that's in the step is the assistant to the road and bridge superintendent. That's the only position that's in the steps
yeah,
right now.
I understand that, but part of the evaluation.
They get evaluated, yes, but they don't have any raises based off of evaluations the way that the road and bridge pay scale's set up. They are classed at the top of their 90-day probationary period based off of their qualifications, and that's where they stay.
Yeah, but there's a step, there's evaluation increases.
Oh, well, yes. But however that is, yes, if they move from a 3 to a 4 based off of CDL or anything, yes, but the ones that are 5s,
No,
they're not gonna be
I understand that, but
Okay.
it's not.
They can go to the max.
yeah. And they can be reclassed up or down.
And then that's,
I just want to make sure that's part
Yes.
of the
but they all get evaluated.
Yes.
program.
Our normal evaluations will take place, moving in between your steps based off evaluations are gonna happen, and those are automatic.
That's my.
Yes, sir.
So I'm really not understanding this. That's not unnatural, but anyway, I thought we had it set up that once a raise was given, that anyone, everyone gets a raise.
Not, though, those would probably be cost of living, is what you're thinking of. We have all of our staff, admin, road bridge, everything, they have just, like I said, they're classed every year, they're evaluated, and their steps, is that what you wanna call it, are based off of their evaluations. Now, they hit a maximum, then they don't get it anymore. There are a lot of people who are already maxed out, and so from year to year, they don't get a raise, because they already maxed out of their step. The only way they get a raise is if you give a cost of living raise, or if they're reclassed by the supervisor with the jury approval, or if there's a cost of living raise given. That is the only way that they get something, once they're maxed out.
And it doesn't include department heads or anything, it's just.
No, it's just staff. There's no department heads or anything. No appointed employees, it's just everyday working staff.
Which one did we discuss in the finance committee meetings? We're going away with?
The classifications, which is talking about.
Suspend those, yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
do you have the list? Has Ryan handed you the list of the classifications of everybody?
I have,
You have them.
yes, we have them. Where every employee's class, which level they are, how much their step is, and it's based off of the position, not the employee. It's wherever the employee falls in their position. So there might be numerous employees in the same, I guess, line item category, but one might be at a 7, one might be at a 9.
Okay.
We can give that to you if you want it.
Well, I just asked a question, that's all I
Okay.
did, just ask a question. I'm not questioning you already yet.
Yes, sir. So basically, the department heads, the administrator, and the foremen don't get no step increases unless the jury votes to give them a cost of living raise or a promotion.
That's correct.
So not only is it the department heads, the foremen at all the barns are classified with that. Am I right?
Yes.
So I just wanted you to know that.
They've been that way, it's not.
But all the employees are evaluated, and then there's classifications And each year, depending on if a young person comes in our organization and he promotes himself by getting a CDL or something like that, then he gets that evaluation increase or step. The same way the people in the office.
Yeah, I'm understanding that, but I thought we had done something different. Because when we first came in here, when I first came in here 6 years ago, we had individuals that hadn't received a raise in several years. And to be fair to everybody across the board, I thought we had changed that. And I guess
I think we did that. We changed it, we put it in the step program.
Budget year by year. That was reversed.
We got that step.
We implemented backwards when you first come in, we was going off the old program.
Yeah, I remember.
And then that's when we implemented, when Ryan come in, we implemented the step program. That's when the jury, before I was a jury chairman, the jury come in and approved that program. But it's always, I believe it's always been based off of jury's decision.
Once the classification system was adopted back in 2014, that's been in place every year, and that's happened.
And that stays in.
But a couple of years.
The jury suspends.
Yes.
Yeah, they could. I mean, that was part of the financial discussion. Was Quinn kind of brought up, to suspend it for this year due to, and I think that discussion went on and,
That was one of the options
yeah.
when we're talking about cost cutting. But it is a policy that you adopted, and it's very similar to the same policy used statewide with all parish and state governments. They all use the step system. That's what we modeled ours off after. So it's not something unique to government.
Now, a couple of times, y'all had cost of living increases
Yes.
in that time period, and that increased the steps, all the categories of the steps by that cost of living. But employees that weren't in the classification system also got that cost of living. But that's not in this.
So, Mr. Chairman, all the evaluations have been done with the staff.
Not yet, no.
Then you can't add nothing in there until you give us all a copy so we can see exactly what the step up's gonna be and the classification they go to and the money wise. It's gonna be hard until you get it to come to the budget.
So are you saying that you don't want to give the steps without looking at the evaluation?
I'm saying I did not do that.
No, we can give it to you.
I mean,
Yeah, but I'm saying,
We
if
don't.
Ryan hasn't done, if y'all, the department heads hadn't done their evaluations yet, you can't put nothing in the budget yet. I'm just saying, when the classifications come out, I thought they always give it to the jury so we could see the exact, how much money was gonna go through, how much money was coming out of the budget. And then it was all figured into your next budget if the jury approved the classifications going up.
Girl, that's how it used to
Yeah.
work. Until the jury accepted.
Oh, I know what you accepted.
The new policy.
But it's still gotta come in front of the jury, we gotta see the money coming in front of us.
I know what,
It's
if I,
in here.
It's in here?
Yes,
she's
the
putting the
steps.
money, in the budget, but all the evaluations and that will be done by December when you adopt it. So if y'all would say at that point, we're not doing it, then when we adopt the budget in December, we'd take that, it would be less that money, It's just to put it in there as kind of a placeholder, pending y'all's approval of the budget in December, when all the evaluations will have been done.
And if you don't, when the jury adopted the policy, that's how it operates. It's to take it out of your guys' hands having to approve every single raise just based off of their evaluation. That's the way the policy was implemented and adopted. If that's not how you guys want it to work, then we need to change the policy. Okay, maybe it's time to do a new policy or add that in the policy that the steps will be granted based on the jury approval only. I mean, we need to kind of fine tune the policy to operate the way you guys wanted it to operate. Because right now, the way it's written, it doesn't come to the jury. It's something that's automatic in the budget based off their supervisor's evaluation. If you want to be able to approve it, then we need to change it. Not just saying that you can't say, look, we're suspending steps for everyone. We don't care what the evaluation, say we're suspending them for this year. Yes, the jury does that, but as for just the step increases, that's not something that it was written to be presented to the jury every year. It's just something that's automatic in the budget.
And that's why it was put that way, was because that we would have a budget discussion, and if there wasn't money for anything, you could cut anything out of the budget. But on their part, they automatically put it in there, and then it's our decision, I guess, to say, well, we're gonna take not just this, we may take something else out of the budget because of finances.
And this is the meeting to do that. Y'all say, look, we don't want to do steps, we're going to suspend them, or we want to cut the office budget by 25% across the board. I mean, whatever you guys want to do, this is the meeting that we need to start doing that. We could have another meeting if you need to think it over a little bit longer. If y'all not ready to make those type of decisions, then we can have one. We'll either schedule one, it'll either have to be a special meeting type in October, or we'll try and schedule one in November.
How many people we talk about getting step increases?
Let's see, it would pretty much, there's 5 in the DA's office, secretaries, there's 2 in the judge's office, her 2 secretaries, and then permit secretaries, and then your accounting staff, Pam, Kayla, Greg, but Greg's maxed out, Mary, and Cassandra. And Arlene, so.
It could be 20,
15.
25.
It's all the secretaries and assistants, basically. We can set another meeting up.
Would y'all have time before the next budget meeting to have the evaluations done? Is that enough time to have the evaluations done? And
Well, we usually,
we can know for a fact what that number may be.
We can do whatever you guys want us to do. If y'all want us to do evaluations next week,
I mean,
certainly can do it.
typically in the past,
You're saying you're gonna do the evaluation.
Mhm. We typically do them at the end of the
You haven't
year.
done no evaluation whatsoever yet.
No, there hasn't
Okay, so
been.
you can't give nobody a step increase, you can't do nothing unless the evaluations are done, correct?
no, they wouldn't get it. If their evaluation, whether she's got it in the budget or not, if the evaluation comes out and the employee doesn't get one, they don't get one.
Yeah, just because you put something in the budget don't mean they gonna automatically.
The budget's just to show this is what that cost would be when, if everybody got theirs, that money's there, But the evaluations still have to be done, you still have to get approved to get that step increase. And those evaluations are done typically in November of every year. When we send out the evaluation forms, they usually take about 2 weeks for everybody to get them and get everything done and submit.
When would you like the evaluations to be done, Mr. Darrell? Would you like us to have them done before and schedule a meeting in November?
I'd like to have them done and have another meeting
Okay.
when they're complete.
No, it's not my decision, it's an open discussion.
Yes.
That's all we're doing, is making sure that everybody understands, we're all same page, everything is doing right. I mean, my mind's running about 16,000 miles an hour RPM right now. I'm not quite to the understand, and I know I was here when we done all this stuff. So did I. Stop it.
How about we give a deadline to all
What I'm saying
the
is, it's hard for you
supervisors?
to put that in the budget, that if you don't know, I'm gonna use this for an example, if it's Mr. Fountain getting a 2-step up increase, is that right or not right?
That doesn't
You can't-
happen.
It should be a step by step.
It's
It's
always
just one step.
It should be one step, and
But
I understand that,
right.
but you can't single, to me, I'm not going to single an employee out right this very minute, put it in the budget, without me seeing how much is gonna be spent on this kind of, on the budget? How much money is gonna come out if it's $10 million? Well, we need to put another $1 million in there for the thing. So, I mean, it goes back to me, yeah, it should be in the next budget, not this one.
Okay,
That's my opinion. Now, I'm not trying to cut. Well,
And
that's just a number right now, but they don't know what number in my book.
I can tell you what I did. I took every step per employee, per department, and I put it in the budget like they got their step. And if they don't get their step, then that's a surplus in our budget.
Okay.
That's the reason why I did
That's
it.
fine.
I cannot do it that way.
It's not, we're not trying to give nothing yet, okay? We're not trying to do that. Understand that very clearly. Because it don't need to leave out here, well, the jury don't want to give it up. It's not true. It's not true. Just, we're making sure everything is kosher with what we're doing.
Yes.
It ain't no different than the boat ramp. I mean, we're gonna allocate X amount of dollars.
I agree with you.
And at the end of the day, we're gonna spend X amount of dollars.
That's,
You got,
and I'm not arguing the cat, I just want to make sure it's justifiable that everybody's good.
Is putting a cap to it.
yeah.
And that's all she did.
Yeah, the cap
She
is
put
done, but
she put a cap on the budget
And I-
for all the steps. That don't mean all the employees are gonna get those
Right.
steps, but if they all do, then
That's
it's
what
in the
it'll
budget.
look like, yes.
And she's doing it no different than it's been done every year.
No, that's okay. No.
One gets,
You're doing all right.
So how about we set a deadline, we bump up our evaluations, they need to be done by, and turned in by October 1st. It gives them 3 weeks.
So the next meeting, and then it'll be ready to go. Yeah.
And if y'all wanna try to schedule a meeting in between the board review, if y'all wanna do some subcommittee finance meetings, if that's how y'all wanna operate, we can do whatever you guys want.
I'd like to see the evaluations, and then I would like to see another board meeting. Whatever.
Okay.
one has to be.
Yes. That's what I like to see.
I'll go with
That's
that.
up to y'all.
Yeah, just to see.
Do y'all wanna have it in the middle of the agenda and the voting in November?
That'd be fine.
Okay, so full disclosure, we're probably gonna go ahead and set up the notice, the public hearing, because we have to have a hearing for the public comment on the budget. So we're gonna go ahead and publish the budget, including any changes made today in the paper, and it'll be that same day. So if since we're gonna be meeting anyways, then any of the public can come to you and with their suggestions or complaints, we can talk about the evaluations, and then after that meeting, it should not change again until y'all adopt it in December.
That's good.
Okay. Any other, requests from you guys before I turn it over to, Emily, who's got a list? A very important list.
The what?
I said, I'm gonna ask Emily, she has a few requests, but I wanted you guys to finish your dialogue before we change the subject. Any other questions?
I'm good with, I'm
Good.
What's the revenues? You don't have something in the revenue?
Sir?
Do you have any revenue, sheets in here?
Yeah, the front sheet should tell you everything that you want to know at a glance. If you want to see it more in detail, start on page 3.
I don't think I looked at page 1.
Page 1, it's just very similar to the one that we kind of went through last month. Your general fund totals, the one that you're really most concerned about. We're saying if the budget's adopted as is, you would open up 2018 with 13 million, you'd get 3.5 million in revenue. Your expenditures would be 5.7 million, that's just in operating. That's inclusive of a 2 million capital project. Your other funding sources is 2.1 million, which is transferred between road and bridge and criminal court as a supplement. And then you would close the year with a $4.4 million deficit, which would leave your fund balance at 8.6 million. That's pretty much all this sheet says. And if you want to see it broken down by fund, I know there was.
That's good. I agree.
Okay.
that's unless the oil and gas goes up, all this other mess that's going on.
We have seen a small increase in our road royalty funds revenues with the, Yes, it's been increasing. We might actually get $1 million this year. So
Say it again.
the road royalty, last year we only collected about 600,000 because the oil was so low. But with the increase in gas prices, we're kind of on target to get $1 million this year, which is really great news.
Still $2.5 million less than what we were getting 2 years ago. So,
Okay.
it's not jump up and down.
Any other questions? Okay, well, Emily's got a few requests.
I didn't ask yet. There's a couple items that I need to replace, and I'm asking for like 140,000.
How much?
140. A air curtain burner for the dump. I need a backhoe and a bush hog.
Backhoe for what?
Grand Chenier,
And bush hog for where?
Grand Lake, and an air curtain burner for
Just
Sweet
buy some
Lake.
bush hogs?
We bought one for Grand Chenier.
Let's go borrow theirs.
I actually took the old one and we're actually rebuilding the one that's in Grand Lake right now to try to finish out this summer.
That's good, part of that's gonna come out of the.
Two different funds, Lee, Erica,
Yes, sir.
that's gonna come out of garbage, which is plenty of money.
Yeah, that-
The other two are gonna come out, and that's gonna impact the general fund through Road Bridge.
It's replaced.
Yeah, it's all replacement.
It's not additional equipment, it's just to replace outdated equipment.
We don't have a choice.
Are the old ones just, are they rusting out, or are they falling apart? What's the deal with them?
On the backhoe, the same. I mean, on the bush hog, the same as the other one. It's just
Right.
$9,000, yeah, to replace it.
Are we trying to go to maybe get the galvanized bush hog?
That's what we're doing. I want to replace it with the exact same one that we bought. Yes.
I don't see nothing else about these here.
So 140, how much for garbage?
Garbage is 40. So it's
And,
about 100.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm between, I like to see all the galvanized
Yes, sir.
State contract.
On there, you can't. Not on the
No?
bush hog. Not on the bush hog.
Okay, that's what I'm.
That's okay.
You got a bid to do.
What size?
It's $12,000. It was 11,000, I think, something for the one that we just bought.
What size is that?
It's a 10-foot.
10?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
We've been doing good on
Big towers, big towers.
Where do we get the bush hogs from?
It was out of Beaumont Modern. We got it straight from them. That way we didn't have to go through another dealership to pay that extra fee. That's why it dropped from 13 to 14,000 to barely 12. And we went and picked it up. They were going to charge us to bring it. We went and got it.
I don't have a problem. I think you need it. I know you need it.
And on the back road, that's state contract?
Yes, that one should be on state
And
contract.
then you're going through one dealership, or do you get a price, state contract price from a couple of different dealers?
Normally, we just pull up, and a lot of times it'll be, it depends on what you're looking for. I know we had good luck with the last one that we bought. So,
Well, I'm looking at pricing of them, because you can say state contract, and one dealership got a 30% off, one dealership got a 20% off.
yes. I still, like last time, I still end up calling them to see, and we were able to actually go with a different one than what we were looking for. Because on the computer, don't give you a whole lot of information. You have to call and talk to them, and it knocked it down like $20,000 by me making that phone call.
Right.
Yeah,
Make sure it's got big towers.
I will.
You don't even know what he's talking about.
Some of it big. Oh, yeah. Everybody knows, it's a joke.
Okay.
That's
Anybody
it.
else have anything from the family?
Do we have anybody else here that needs to address the jury for anything? Do y'all need anything? Do y'all want to make any requests? Please. Danny? Do you need any capital, did you have any capital project requests?
Need some money, Dan?
No.
He ain't getting
Wait a minute.
had three things. One is, the sexual assault nurse examiner, which what we do on that is Calcasieu Parish employs a woman to, conduct all the sexual assault examinations for a 5-parish area. And then each of the parishes contribute to that. And our share is $3,000. Y'all have paid it before. I don't see where it's allocated on here. Actually, I think you reimbursed me.
It's in here. It's just mixed in
Where?
with the, it's in the budget though. Anything that was in the budget last year is already in there.
Well, I don't see where it can be. It's not under professional fees, because that's not enough. It's,
Already got it in there, Katie?
Yes, sir. It's in here.
where?
It's in the total of the, let's see. That $5,000 professional fee, 3,000 of it is the same nurse. See the 3,000, 2017 actual, we already paid it this year.
Where's the auditor?
It's 2,000, it's also in there, 5,100.
Where? Where's 5,100 for the auditor?
Line 1216,
I don't.
on
I'm
page
start with
20.
5.
Ma'am?
I'm looking at something else, because mine starts with a 5.
Oh, yeah, look it up. At 5,100, it's about 7 or 8 in the expenditures. There's 5,000 budgeted right there. 2,000 is for the audit, the annual audit that we conduct for criminal court, your share, and then 3,000 for same, total of 5,000. And we already paid the same nurse for this year out of that line item, 2017.
We are also supposed to pay our court reporter out of that.
They're in a different department. They're in court reporter with the court, which is 503 department. It's on page,
No, I don't have, all I have is for my office.
okay, well, yeah,
You need 503? No, not 503.
Pick that book up right there.
This book.
Right here, that book right there.
It's 1216.
Okay, good.
You said, Katie?
line 212, yeah, line 1216 on page 20 is professional fees just for the district attorney, and that's at 5,000.
Then what I said.
3,000's already been paid this year.
We didn't get
I see 3,000.
3,000 in the actual, because we paid it already this year. In the blue column, it's 5,000. Yes, sir, it's in here.
Okay, good.
Okay, well, you may have this somewhere else, because my figures are outdated. They're not up with this one. But, we have a, computer program called, TransUnion, which, locates, victims and, witnesses. We use crimes locates people if they're in jail. So that's $840 a year. I don't know if that's in there or not, but they've actually turned it off because they said they weren't paid.
We got a bill in 2 weeks ago and paid it, but if the bills don't come directly to us, then we pay it according to our accounts payable policy. So we pay it, if we don't get it by the 25th, it has to wait till the next month.
Okay, where is that $840 for TransUnion in this?
It would be in the subscriptions, probably, or the renewals, but we have been paying it as the bills have come in, but they just come in
Okay.
sporadically.
Should we try to just get the bills in?
Maybe so, Miss Terry, that might be a good idea.
Yeah, subscriptions and renewals. Okay. Now, and the only other thing is the legislative auditor. When we did our legislative audit, he told us that that was an expense that the police jury should pay, but we were refused. So,
I can just say, we don't pay for any other offices' audits of their special revenue funds. We're just trying to be consistent. We don't pay for the judges, we don't pay for the clerk of court, we don't pay for the tax, any of the other offices that we supplement. They've never asked us to pay for theirs, and we've never paid for anyone in the past. So when that request came up, I just simply said, you need to ask the jury, because that's a special cost. That's not something that we do for everyone else. I mean, but you can certainly ask.
He does audit all our revenue, not just the supplements that we get. He audits what we receive from y'all, all the payroll, retirement, everything. So he audits all of it.
But it's your fund, Ms. Jones.
audited
It's the
through
DA's fund. Like, we don't get the bank statements. We don't manage that account. It would, you know.
It's a special district, the district attorney fund. There's an audit that's done for that, for those funds that are legally entitled to you through that fund, which, you know. I don't
Right.
think that we-
I don't know if y'all know
I'm
that
just
criminal
going by
court.
what the legislative auditor told me. If you don't want to pay it, fine, I'll find money myself. Okay, that's all I had.
Which one are we talking
It's gonna be last this year because we started, and I had Cecil use this Mr. Morris for years and years, and he said he went all the way through it, he did bill me, but he said I had to get a next level of auditor because there was more money coming in through the office. Then, I think it's like under 100,000, you only have to do one thing, and then the next level, you do something else. So, it's, the guy's name is Marty.
Yeah, yes, sir.
about?
Hmm?
The jury, how much are you asking the jury to pay?
It's, you subtract it out of that, it would be about 12,000. Do you have the breakdown of what this is his? Okay. So, it'd be about 12,000. But there's two bills, oh no, you took this out.
Yeah, took that.
This is the bill for Mr. Morris, is taken out, it won't be due in the future.
Paying $12,000 for an audit of a fund with $250,000, $300,000.
I don't know.
That's a lot.
He's he's the one certified by the legislative auditor. See, Mr. Morris used to charge me $1,500. But I can't use him anymore because he said he's not certified to audit over a certain level.
The levels I'm familiar with are whether it's an attestation or full-fledged audit. It usually goes by the revenue, $350,000, unless that's changed. All you have to do is get an attestation, which isn't as extensive as an audit, which is what we have.
Isn't there another level that's lower?
There may, and if there's a different level because of the type of revenue, I mean, I could talk to.
No, I mean a level that's lower than 350, because I know.
Usually goes to attestation and then an audit. I think, you know, and it was depending on that revenue level. That was the difference. But a typical audit for, let's say, waterworks would run to $4,000, something like that. You know, a drainage board may, you know, those typically are $2,000 audits.
Does he do audits for anyone else around here, do you know?
I've never, that's the only one I've seen from him.
Who does y'all's?
Gregson, Cassidy, and Miller. And he does, they do a lot throughout the area.
Well, the only reason I raised it up is because he told me to, so I can look for someone else too. You need to get a copy of that thing.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I think that covers everyone. So I guess to recap, 300,000 of capital project money for the boat launch, 40,000 for parish-wide garbage, 100,000 for road and bridge, and 2 of the 3 things we already paid for criminal court. Unless you want to talk about the 3rd request or during the meeting, or any other questions? To pay the auditors. So, is that it? Any other questions?
I'm good.
I'll get the meeting scheduled for November, and we will definitely get the evaluations out with the deadline, first thing Monday morning.
Thank you.
You don't have a breakdown?
Sir?
You don't have just a breakdown?
So you want to actually see each person and their evaluation score by department?
I don't have to see it today.
Do you guys want to see that? Do you want to see each individual's evaluation? Summary?
Evaluate, just show us the number.
You want to see a breakdown of the evaluation, or you just want to see what's
I
extra?
don't care what their evaluation.
You want to see the number.
Okay.
All right.
The change,
I don't see their evaluation. That's not.
the change, the money in the change.
Yes.
Okay, well,
Evaluation is y'all's business.
okay.
Very easy.
It's gonna be
Well, that's okay.
at a cap. It won't cost you any more than $11,000 if everyone gets their step. And not everyone gets the $750 step. Some people get 6, some people get 7. But if everybody got a $750 cap, it'd be $11,000. But we can get it for the next one by department.
Got one more
I
question.
got one more question. Claire, on the court board, y'all have a budget for next year? We're
We're working on that.
working on the budget for that?
Yes, we're gonna consolidate one after they adopt theirs. We're gonna get together and make one consolidated budget to present to you guys, beginning of next year, because their budget runs different. The way your allocation works, it's not on a calendar year or the same fiscal year as our budget or theirs. It's that June to May. So we're gonna, at the beginning of next year, give you a budget then. It'd be 3 months before you would do the allocation.
Anything else?
Thank you, Katie.